Right, hello, welcome back to BJG Reptiles. I'm Brandon, and this is Anubis. Today we're going to be doing my top 10 most wanted animals. So at number 10 is an olive python. Now, I really like olive pythons. They obviously have an olive colour and a white underbelly, but they're a little bit big for what I have now, so they're something that I plan on getting in the future and not anytime soon. They have been recorded to get to about 13 feet in captivity, but you're probably going to, get just about 10 foot, maybe 11 foot. But they are big snakes. They also have quite a strong feeding response, so they're definitely not for beginner keepers. But yeah, the only thing that's keeping me from getting them is the size. Now, at number 9 is blue-tongue skinks. Now, the reason I'm picking blue-tongue skinks at number 9 and not further down the list is because essentially they are very similar to leopard geckos. The only thing that's different is they're omnivores instead of insectivores, which means they also eat greens as well as insects. I believe you can also feed them meat as well because they're omnivores. They're a little bit bigger than leopard geckos. They tend to be very similar behaviour-wise. They're just the next step above. They're something I would like to get in the future, but not something that I desperately want. At number 8 is something completely new to me, which would be a horsefield tortoise. Now, the reason I'm choosing horsefield tortoise at number 8 is because they're a very good beginner tortoise, and I would like to in the future get further on and get more tortoises, but I don't own one, so I'd like a simpler one to start with and a little bit of a smaller one. They actually have a very interesting Latin name because it's literally just Testudo Horsefield E, which is literally just Horsefield without the E and then 2 I's on the end. Very weird name for a very weird Latin name, I should say. Now at number 7 is red-eyed crocodile skinks. Now, if you don't know what these guys are, they are essentially living dinosaurs. They look so cool. They literally look like dragons. Now, the only problem with these is they do like a high humidity, and they are a relatively cooler animal for a high humidity. They're also very shy, so they're more display animals rather than getting out and handling like a ball python or a leopard gecko. They are very much display animals, but they are beautiful. They're very active. I believe they're insectivores as well, not omnivores, so it's just an insect diet, which is very easy to do. Leopard geckos are so easy to look after. Yeah, so that's why they're number 7. At number 6 is a Cape file snake, or I believe they're also called Ghanaian file snakes. The Limaformosa capensis, I believe is how it's pronounced. They are very similar to some king snakes in the sense that the temperature is very similar to the Lampropeltis mexicana, which I have in that vid there. And the humidity is essentially just room humidity. It's like 50-60%. Now, the only reason these are a little bit higher on the list than the ones previously before is because they look gorgeous, and they're not shy animals, so when you look in the vid, the chances are is they're asleep in the open. Yeah, they're very cool animals, and I would definitely like to get one of those into my collection or into my family. Now, number 5 is actually crested geckos. Now everyone knows what crested geckos look like. Basically, the reason I want a crested gecko is because I've got a leopard gecko, and crested geckos are essentially the arboreal equivalent in the gecko world. They're cute, they're handleable, and I believe they're about the same size as leopard geckos. They might be a little bit smaller, but not much. But like I said, they are arboreal, which in my collection I distinctly lack. I've got pretty much all terrestrial animals. In fact, I have all terrestrial animals. I don't think I have a semi-arboreal or an arboreal animal. People argue that ball pythons are semi-arboreal, but they're not. They're terrestrial, but they'll use arboreal opportunities. Yeah. Number 5 is definitely crested geckos. Number 4, so now we're getting into the top 4. The top 4 are the ones that I would like to add to my collection now if I could. So number 4 isn't actually a reptile, it is an amphibian. It is a yellow-bellied toad. Now, these are a communal species, so you can have a few of them in there. They're relatively small, they're insectivores, and they also like a cooler temperature. They are pretty easy to look after for an amphibian. I think the only thing that would probably be easier is like a Pac-Man frog. But they're active, which is why I want them over other frogs. They're also not something you see every day. I think I've seen them in one pet shop ever, which is why they're still stuck in my head. And yeah, they're definitely something that I would look at again in the future. And if I do, there'll be a whole video on that. Now, at number 3 is actually, again, not a reptile. This is actually a tarantula, an arachnid, a invertebrate, whatever you want to call it. It's an Antilles pink-toe tarantula, or I've got this written down, Caribena versicolor, so the sea versicolor. Now these are an arboreal species of tarantula, which is different to the one that is in that glass viv there. He is a terrestrial, or she is a terrestrial spider. We don't know yet. I want an arboreal spider. That is the one that me and my fiance have agreed on, so that is something that we are definitely getting in the future. They're also a New World tarantula, so they're relatively good for beginners. I obviously own one tarantula, so having 2 tarantulas and 2 beginner tarantulas wouldn't be that bad. I have been warned that they're quite jumpy, but I'm still very interested in getting them. I do love tarantulas. I've just only got one, so I would definitely like to get a different type of one. Don't do it. Don't go on my hat. Okay, now he's on my hat. In at number 2 is Brazilian rainbow boas. Now this is something that I've actually already inquired about. My friend has 2 Brazilian rainbow boas, Sarabi and Skittles. I will at some point be picking up Skittles. Now, Skittles is, it's not that he wants to get rid of them. He loves the snakes, but Skittles is a fantastic specimen of a Brazilian rainbow boa. He is really, really pretty. He's a little bit bigger than the snakes I've got. I think the longest one I've got is about 5 foot. He is probably just a little bit bigger than that, but he's a shithead, right? So he bites just for the sake of biting. He's just a pain in the ass, but I'm gonna give it my best shot. I'm gonna see if I can get that out of him. If not, it'll just be an animal that I get out and go, don't touch. But yeah, the thing with Brazilian rainbow boas is when they're babies, they can be a little bit finicky and a little bit nippy. But once they're adults, they tend to thrive. They need a very high humidity, and they are stunning animals. They are also semi-arboreal, which, like I said, I am lacking in the collection. That is probably going to be my next animal. Even though it's number 2 on the list, that is definitely going to be my next animal. Now, at number 1 is actually a pair of viper geckos. Now, the reason I want a pair of viper geckos is because not everyone has them. I think they look beautiful. I also think they're very handleable, despite what people say. I think that even though they're smaller, they will be like crested geckos to handle. You can get them out, you know, showing people. They're a little bit jumpy. But the one thing that is very weird about viper geckos is, like, crested geckos and other geckos have like these sticky pads on their toes to stick to things. They actually have small claws, but they've still been observed climbing glass, which is very, very cool. They are a nocturnal species, unfortunately, but I'm a night owl, so I'm like recording this at like 1 in the morning or something. Yeah, they're a stunning species. They're nocturnal. They are insectivores, and they are also communal, like I said, so it means that I can have more than one in an enclosure. Now, I would love to experiment in the future, having maybe a couple of viper geckos and something else, like a tortoise or something like that. But for now, I just want 2 viper geckos. I want a pair. I'd love to breed them and have some babies. That would be very, very cool. And they are essentially my dream species right now. They will be the animal after the Brazilian rainbow boa that I get, definitely. But yeah, that's my top 10. Please let me know your top 10 or your top couple of animals that you want in the future if you have got this far. I shall see you next time, and don't forget to like and subscribe, like I said.